Hey all, we're here with Murphy, the mighty fucking Murphy from Blessed Black. If you don't know them, Blessed Black is such a badass fucking band in the North Kentucky, Cincinnati area that it's like a doom stoner. And to me, I hear like new wave of British heavy metal hints kind of woven
Hey man,
throughout it.
what's up, dude? How you doing?
Good.
Hey everybody. So yeah, I could hear some of that. I think. I mean, I definitely love new wave British heavy metal. Bands like Satan are particularly. Actually, I saw Satan a couple years ago in the Louisville area, and they were incredible.
Yeah.
Even like up to like Night Demon and stuff like that, like the newer bands. So I dig that stuff. It's not necessarily something that I try to put into Blessed Black, but I'm sure it comes through just like everything else.
Yeah. Well, like little hints of everything. And
You
it,
know, it's the guys in the band and myself. We all listen to a lot of different kinds of music. I mean, like a ton. Like we're all over the place from everything from jazz through like the heaviest, most brutal death metal ever. So you kind of just pick and choose where you're taking your influences from, and everything gets blended up and spit out and becomes what it is.
yeah, for sure. So I want to just kind of touch on your voice for a second. I made my daughter listen to some Blessed Black yesterday, and
Oh, poor girl.
she's always got headphones on, and your voice came on, and she goes, "Oh my God, he has got such a great voice." And I'm like, "Hell yeah."
Well, that's really sweet of her to say, man. So this is the first band I've ever fronted. I've been singing since I was a kid. Grew up singing, grew up around music in a family that was musical, but no one else played instruments really. But like everybody was like, there was always music on in my house, and my mom and dad singing along to different stuff. And um, I've been singing since I was old enough to figure out how. I did a few bands in the past where I sang backing vocals or like where I might take a verse or a chorus or something, but this is the first time I've ever fronted a band ever. So I really appreciate that, man. It's tell your daughter I said thanks, and I appreciate anybody that has nice things to say about what I do. I'm still feel like I'm finding my way a lot of times. I'm trying to figure out things along the way. And I think you can hear that a little bit if you listen to our early stuff all the way up through the current stuff.
Yeah.
You'll hear a little bit of an evolution with my voice and me still figuring things out. Who knows, the next one might even be different. It's just one of those things where it's a constant evolution and me trying to find what I think works and what feels good and what I can recreate. And yeah, man, I appreciate that big time.
Well, I'll tell you, right? You're absolutely right. I hear the evolution from the early stuff, La Brea and what have you. Like Seasons Volume One, you hear it feels like you really starting to come into it, and then what you sent me is like, holy fuck! Like it's still really good, and I feel like you're a lot more confident with that stuff than even Seasons Volume One.
I appreciate that, man. I feel that way too. I feel like Seasons Volume One, when I went in, we actually tracked the vocals for Seasons Volume One a different time, and I listened to them, and I was like, it's not. I wasn't feeling it. Like it was kind of more along the lines of what I did on the first album and on La Brea and things like that. A little more rough, a little more pushed, and it's just the more I listen to it, I'm like, I don't think it's what I want to do, man. So I actually sat with our producer Neil Turry, who owns Amish Electric Chair Studios, where we record, and we kind of just talked like, I think I'm going to try something different. So I just went in the booth and kind of just used my natural voice that came out without pushing, without trying to sound like anything. I just let it out, like let it be what it was. And at first I was really nervous about it. Like I wasn't sure if people would like it. I wasn't sure if it was good. But Neil was actually really reassuring. He's like, listen, man, change is hard. It's gonna feel weird. You're onto something here. You should stick with this. So we put it out, and I think people have responded really positively to it. And I really do think that. So this time when I went in to record volume two, which you're one of the first people to actually hear volume two, We'll be dropping the first single soon. We'll be making some announcements about that soon. So if you don't follow us online, please do so you can find out because we're going to be dropping some new stuff here soon. When I went back into track with Neil, it was like, hey, listen, we were there last time, but I want to expand on that a little more. Now that I've been doing that live and singing these songs live for a while, I feel like I'm a little more comfortable doing what I need to do. And man, it was the easiest sessions I've ever had as a vocalist. I mean, we breezed right through these songs. A couple of them was like, okay, the first take was like, hey, that was usable. That was good. Normally first take is like, just delete that. We'll forget it happened. But
Yeah.
yeah, man, we had some magic in the studio and it felt really good. And I lean on the guys in my band a lot for I'll send them things like, hey, do you think this is good? Is this worth keeping? Because if they're not in the studio with me, that is. Like when I did the vocals this time, it was just me and Neil. And I trust them probably more than I trust myself, honestly, a lot of times. I'm in a band with these dudes and I love all of them and they all have impeccable taste. And I just feel like sometimes I'm a little too close to it, so I'd rather hear what they have to say. And I sent them over what we did, and they're all like, "Dude, this is it." So yeah, man, I really, once again, I appreciate all the kind words anybody has said for us, particularly about my vocals because of this being a new kind of venture for me. It's really nice to get some validation that I'm doing something right. So I appreciate it.
Hell yeah, dude. You absolutely are. I mean, obviously I've only seen Blessed Black the one time with Fairy Ring, but fuck, man, that
I'm really glad you came up for that, man. That was a really fun show. That was a
yeah.
really cool show.
I was really impressed the whole way through, right? I was a, Fairy Ring fan, prior
Dude, they're
anyway.
they're such a special band.
Yeah.
I tell people about them all the time. I feel like I'm always talking about those dudes. Like they have their own. It's difficult to stand out in the kind of genre we play in, kind of the doom stoner rock genre, whatever you want to call it. But like the first time I heard those guys, I was like, oh, this is good. And then the first time I saw them, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
this is exceptional. This is more than good. It's kind of a singular thing when you look at them. Like I've never seen another band that live that is what they are, and it just they're an incredible band. We're actually working on some shows together right now, and I'm really looking forward to it. Absolutely love those dudes. They're 100% authentic, and I think that is so so important
Yeah.
these days. And I just it's one of my favorite things about them. And yeah, can't say enough good things about the Fairing dudes.
Yeah. And something really cool on at that show was both bands watched each other play just like from a fan's perspective, and you could see it on everyone's face. Everyone was like, holy shit, right? They are fucking great from both sides. And I like,
It's always nice when the bands you play with are bands that you would go see even if you weren't playing with them.
yeah,
We've been really fortunate, man, in the Kentucky, Indiana, Cincinnati, Ohio, like tri-state area, all of Ohio, Indiana, and Kentucky. There's so many good bands.
oh yeah,
Like in just within the scene that we're in. I mean, when you get down into Kentucky, you got Crop and She and Storm Toker and like dude, so many good bands. And then you get out to Indiana, and of course you've got Fairy Ring and Ancient Days and Mound Builders, and like you get into Ohio, and I've been listening to Lopan like crazy the last couple weeks, and like they're just such an incredible band, and Horse Burner, and like just dude, so many good bands.
oh yeah. Horse Burner and Crop have that little run going here in just a
Yeah,
couple of weeks.
yeah, once again, just like some of the best dudes ever. I'm sure you've seen the Legalized Lex show that's coming up on 420 this year.
Yeah, I'll be
Uh,
there.
Absolutely, man. Braun from Crop put it together, which he busted his ass. He kind of came to me. We were actually standing in the crowd at Danzig. We were watching Danzig, and he was like, "Hey, I'm putting together this show," and he started telling me about it. I'm like, "Dude, I don't care if you have a spot for us or not. We're playing." Like,
Yeah.
and he was like, "Absolutely, you're in." So it's going to be one of the coolest shows I think that's going to happen all year. and I'm really looking forward to it.
Killer. Yeah, I've got him. I think he's coming up in a couple of days. I'll have a conversation with him too. I actually, so I'm a big spot.
Yeah, gotta love Braun, dude. One of the best
Yeah,
dudes.
I'm a big spotlights guy. Do you know spotlights?
No, I don't think I'm familiar with Spotlights.
So uh they were based out of New York. I'm gonna call them a New York
Okay.
band, but they do like this doom shoegaze. I I
Oh,
fuck
cool.
I'm fucking in love with them. So I went to see him. Let me see. I got to think. The whole weekend was like I saw Deftones, Gojira like Friday night and Saturday night, and then went to go see Spotlights on Sunday night at Green Lantern in Lexington. Actually,
Yeah, I love the Lantern, man. It's always a good time.
Crop played, and I was just like, hell yeah! It was Crop and Bad Wires and Spotlights.
That sounds like a killer show.
It was fucking great. So I actually met Braun that night. Weird meeting meeting musicians at shows because I met you at Cattle Decap.
Yeah. I was we were down at Cattle Cap. That's my wife's favorite band. So we drove down just to see them. It was awesome. Cattle Cap's incredible.
Yeah,
So
every time. So let's touch on like you said you were singing from an early age. Y-
yeah,
what artists or what really motivated you to get into music?
dude. So Elvis Presley was like a religion in my household. Was not optional. You were an Elvis fan if you were part of my family. It was just that's how it was. I can remember from I can't even say I remember. I remember my mom telling me about it as I got older, but when I was a child, like probably 5, 6 years old, man, like um my favorite song was Suspicious Minds by Elvis.
Hell yeah.
And so I would have her put it on the record player and I would like sing along to it. You know, at the time I had no idea what I was doing, but as I got a little older, I started getting in. So my older sister, she's about 9 years older than me, and she was into like a lot of the hair metal of the time. I was born in '81, so my sister being 9 years older, she was at the peak high school years when hair metal was a thing. So I remember like a lot of times like I would hear stuff from her, Guns N' Roses and Wasp
Oh
was like
yeah.
the one that stood out, man. Cinderella honestly stood out to me early on for the vocals. I remember thinking Tom Keeper had the coolest voice because he had kind of a gravelly voice, which wasn't common in the hair metal scene. Most of those guys had kind of more of a pretty voice, and Tom sounded like he had been drinking whiskey all day.
Yeah.
And I thought it was cool, and I still to this day think Tom Keeper's got an incredible voice. And then Motley Crue and all those kind of things, and um, I didn't really get into wanting to play music until I got a guitar at like 10 years old because I just asked my parents for like a whole year, like, can I get a guitar? Can I get a guitar? And so they were like, we were pretty poor when I was growing up. So like they saved up and got me a guitar and it was like, this is your Christmas and your birthday this year. So I really hope you like it. and
Oh yeah.
I kind of fucked around with it for a few years. And then when I was like 13, I discovered like punk and grunge. And I remember hearing the Misfits, and hearing Soundgarden and Alice in Chains, and just being like, "Wow, okay, this is something that is hitting me a little deeper than music has even hit me before." And maybe I should figure out how to play this guitar.
Yeah.
And singing wasn't even on my radar at the time. Like even though I had been singing, like I sang in choir as a kid and in school and stuff like that. Like, but it just never really occurred to me to like front a band. So I just learned how to play guitar, and I started really taking guitar seriously around like 14 years old, and just started my first band when I was like 15 or 16 with my friends playing terrible punk songs and like covering the Misfits and the Ramones and stuff.
Hell yeah.
Um,
That's how I think that's how everyone starts out, you know?
Right, you right. Everybody had their first just like terrible band where your parents were just bummed out that you were practicing at their house, and
Yeah. Oh yeah.
but like my parents were like they were always pretty chill with everything. Like they were like, hey, listen, it could be worse. You could be like out doing something stupid, so that's fine. Like little
Yeah.
did they know I was still doing
So
stupid shit just in between.
we all were, right? It's you got to have the balance.
Right. And with like early high school years came like I started skateboarding, and like so I got into like a lot of skate punk, a lot of Fat Records, No Effects, and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Lagwagon, No Use for a Name, all those like Fat Records skate punk bands. And dude, like a revelation, and I don't use that word lightly. Like a revelation for me was discovering the first two Danzig records.
Oh, okay.
So, like, I still to this day, like, on just about any given week, if you have me give you my top five records, those two are going to probably be in.
Okay.
Danzig 1 and Danzig 2. Um, Literally, I think they're flawless. I think they're perfect records. And so, that kind of pushed me into more like, okay, punk, but also metal. And I started thinking about, like my metal roots when I was a kid, listening to Metallica and Megadeth and stuff growing up. And I remember my sister introducing me to the Toxic Waltz,
Oh yeah.
showing me Exodus. And like, and it's funny because now like I work with Exodus and as a tech. So like, it's cool how full circle it all came.
Dude,
But
I fucking love Exodus.
yeah, Exodus is like upper echelon, one of the best thrash metal bands of all time. Once again, just a purely authentic band. They do what they do and they do it well. And also like just some of the best dudes. Like I absolutely am super lucky to. You always hear like don't meet your heroes, don't meet your idols and stuff. I grew up loving Exodus, and I call those dudes my friends now. And I have nothing bad to say about that. They're all great dudes, and I can't think of a single thing that I would want to say bad about any of them.
That's fucking awesome. I met 2019 I met Gary Holt,
Yeah,
and it was on my birthday, and it was like I did it on purpose. Early in the year, I bought meet and greet for Slayer on my birthday. I was like, we're going to West Virginia. It's my birthday. We're doing
dude,
this.
fuck yeah.
And uh so my birthday's May 13th. April 5th, my fucking little brother killed himself.
Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that.
So I'm all fucked up. I'm still going to meet the band. And
Right,
I went and met the band and kind of gave them my story. And I swear to God, they all just kind of huddled around me and were like, dude, it's okay. And gave me these words of encouragement. And I'm like, oh, this is why I fucking
brother.
love you guys.
That's why you love music, man. I mean, in times like that, like loss and tragedy and stuff like that, like music is more important than ever.
Oh yeah.
You always hear people say like it sounds cliche, but I believe it almost every time somebody says like music saved my life. I believe people when they say that because I've experienced it, and I've experienced it through myself and through a lot of other people. Music heals people. Music saves people. It is the universal thing with music that like finding a song that speaks to you will heal you, man. Like and it's I think it's really good that you still went and did that. You didn't shy away from going out, and I'm glad you got to meet them and they embraced you like they did, man. I don't know the guys from Slayer. um i um I have known Gary now 7 or 8 years now. I guess maybe not quite, maybe 6 or 7, something like that. Since the first time I text for Tom Hunting, their
Okay.
drummer, and one of just the nicest, sweetest guys ever you'd ever want to meet. And just a big kid who loves his life and loves his job, and still appreciates being a metalhead and playing metal. And yeah,
Yeah. And his transition, right? Like when he decided, hey, I'm gonna get sober and he sobered up, I feel like you can really see it just on his face.
yeah, man. I didn't know Gary. We met right around the time he sobered up.
Hmm.
Um, so I think like the first year or so that I met him, he would drink a couple beers at the shows when I saw him, but I never really saw him like hammered or like fucked up real bad. And then like about maybe a year afterwards, excuse me. Actually, the last time I think I saw any Gary drink, it had to have been 2020, maybe 19, something like that. And even then, it was like I had a beer, but or he, not I don't drink, but he had a beer before he went on stage, and that was it. Like, but I can tell that like since he has gotten sober, you can tell that like he's feeling better, and that he is seeing a lot of positive effects from it. I'm glad for him, and I'm glad for any of my friends who do the things they need to do to better themselves or to get in a place, or to recognize something that's dragging them down and get away from it.
Hell yeah. I absolutely agree, right? Like it's when you notice something that's dragging you down, you got to fucking cut ties and move on, right?
Absolutely, man. And we all know it can be tough, dude. I mean, it's crazy to think like when I was a kid, I never would think that I would know people who died from overdoses,
Oh yeah.
you know, and like, or people who did heroin, and like, because when I was a kid, like heroin was, it was like a big bad wolf drug. Like, people talked about it in hushed voices, and now it's just everywhere.
Yeah.
And you got people, everybody I know has a family member or a loved one or someone who has OD'd or has died or has, known someone who OD'd or died from opiates. And it's just crazy to see, and I have a lot of friends who went down that path and then found their way back and cleaned up and turned their life around. And I'm proud, so proud of every single one of them, and I have other friends that are still struggling with it, and I'm proud of them for fighting, you know what I mean? And I hope that one day they get past it too. But I think it's an incredible thing when people have the self-awareness to realize what's going on and to make the change.
I agree. And it, you're gonna, as long as you're living and fighting for that, to get away from it, whatever that outcome is, you deserve to be recognized for that.
Absolutely.
Okay, we kind of went down a little dark hole there for a
Yeah,
second.
yeah, yeah. Let's bring it back. Let's bring it back. Let's take it up to some more
Yeah,
music. How about that?
fuck yeah. Who are some of your like your guitar influences? You like,
I mean, I could be as cliche as everybody else. It's Iommi. It all goes back to
okay,
Tony Iommi. I
hell yeah,
mean,
it does.
and still to this day, I'll listen to Black Sabbath, and I'll still catch something. I'm like, holy shit, that was really fucking cool. What did he just do there? And I'll, have to back it up and listen to it and try to figure it out. And yeah, I mean, Tony Iommi is definitely up there. Richie Blackmore is a big one for me.
Okay,
I love Rainbow, love Deep Purple, love Blackmore in general. Just I think that one of the archetypes of a very unique style and his own thing. So yeah, Blackmore's pretty heavy. Actually, one of the solos on the new EP that's coming out. When I tracked it, like I just thought to myself, like that sounds kind of like a Blackmore solo. And then now, and as soon as I said it, like in my head, like the biggest smile hit my face, and now it's like my favorite solo I've ever tracked in my life.
hell yeah.
Um, you know, John Christ on the first three Danzig records. I think John Christ was. I think the biggest thing that happened to Danzig's career that made him go downhill was John Christ not being in the band anymore. I think that dude just everything about his playing made those records, and he's one of my all-time favorite guitar players ever. We'll be at practice, and it's like we'll be stuck at a part, and like I'll look at Jake and be like, I don't know, man, what would John Christ do? Like because the dude just had creative ways of doing the most simple shit and making it sound awesome.
Hell yeah.
Um, you know, Robin Trower. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of all over the place, man. I like a lot of different stuff. Hetfield, of course,
Yeah.
arguably the greatest rhythm player in metal of all time. I would argue that. And I love Metallica so much. Um, lots of just great players. Someone else who I've been fortunate to work with and become to call a friend is Matt Pike.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, Matt's a big influence, of course. I think just one of the most. Once again, like we were talking about Fairy Ring earlier, and how they're
Mhm.
just authentic. Matt's the same way, man. Like just truly authentic and only who he is. And I think it's unique and and incredible. And yeah, man, I got to tour with High on Fire December of 2022, and Tech for Matt and Tech for Jeff, and uh, just phenomenal time. Amazingly fun dudes, and yeah, just really fucking unique, incredible, talented people.
Hell yeah, dude. That is a really good fucking list of guitar players, and I'm always impressed talking to people about their influences with guitar because they literally range. Um, man, like Frank Zappa, right? That dude was
Right, right. A lot of people love Zappa.
he's so crazy.
Oh, hold on 1 second. I need to plug in, or we are going to die, and you're going to lose me.
Uh,
Our internet went down. It should be back up within like the next half hour or so. Like, of course, today I've got this going on with you. Like, our internet goes down, so I'm actually doing this on my cell phone right now.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
we just talked to the internet provider like an hour ago, and they're like, "Well, it might take an hour to 2 hours before it comes back up." And it's like, "Well, thanks, guys. Cool." So yeah, I'm actually doing this on my iPhone right now.
No worries. We'll figure it out. Um,
Yeah,
I
man.
I know it's always weird doing these things, right? Like half the people use the phone, half the people use a laptop. I'm always on a laptop because I got my little studio area.
Right. Normally, I actually would be too. Yeah, man. If our internet was working, I normally have my laptop, my studio area too. This is actually like Jess's office slash our like dressing room office space that we use in the house slash the cat's room.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, speaking of cats,
oh man, look at that. Yeah, we've
dude,
got three of them. They're around here somewhere.
I got three dogs and a cat, and they're all pit bulls, and the cat rules the roost.
Absolutely, it's funny how that works, man.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, getting back to like guitar players, man, I think that it's cool um, hearing what influences other guitar players. Like, when Jake came into the band, so Jake's the newest member of Blessed Black. Like, we started the band 2017 ish, I think, and with my buddy Chris playing guitar. And it's coming up on 2 years now. Chris, told us like he wanted to move out of the band, and we started talking about who to get. We toyed with the idea of being a three-piece for a minute.
Mhm.
We actually played a couple shows as a three-piece, and it just kind of didn't feel right. Like something was missing. So we contacted Jake. We knew him. He used to play in a band called Smoke Healer up here, and he had been out of for a little bit. And so I hit him up, and he came down, and it was immediate. Like the chemistry was immediately there. He fit 100% with the band, and it's been such a cool experience. Like finally, not that there was anything wrong with Chris being in the band. Chris is a great guitar player, and he helped found the band with us, and I'm eternally grateful for all of that. But when Jake joined, there was just a chemistry there that I can't say that I've ever had with any band before I've ever been in.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, we hang out outside of playing music. They're my dudes. We all hang out and like just chilling and laugh our asses off, just hanging out, being friends, and um, it's been really good. But yeah, Jake's influences are completely different than my influences. We have some where we meet in the middle. Things, we both love like bands like Graveyard,
Yeah.
um, or Uncle Acid, things like that, or like Robin Trower, or Rainbow, shit like that. Like we meet in the middle on a lot of things, but then he'll send me something completely out of left field that I've never even heard of before, or I'll send him something that he hasn't heard before, and it's like, oh shit, this is sick, and it's really
Yeah.
cool, like how everybody's influences come together to make what becomes Blessed Black.
Well, and that's, it's like with every band, right? You know, looking at even Black Sabbath, when you had Ozzy era Black Sabbath, it was a very unique, powerful thing. When you
Right.
move into Dio, it was still super powerful, but it was different,
Dude,
right?
so yeah, I've had that argument with a lot of people, man. Like, it's funny because my wife, her favorite band is Black Sabbath. Well, up there with Cattle Decap, but I think maybe probably overall Black Sabbath. But one of the first like things I ever said to her about Black Sabbath, I think is like I think Dio Sabbath is as good or better than Ozzy Sabbath, and she kind of scrunched her nose at me. She couldn't believe I said it. And like, um, but I
Well,
still feel that way. I think that you know, like you said, the Ozzy era Sabbath is special. You know, it's the archetype. It's the beginning of what all of us became.
yeah.
And but when they moved on with Dio, it's still really special. I mean, I think you listen to Heaven and Hell, and then that's a band with a fire lit under their ass, dude. Like they had something to prove. And where you listen to Mob Rules and you hear like a riff like Signs of the Southern Cross, and it's like,
Oh
holy
yeah.
shit, man! Like this is still an amazing band.
Yeah.
Um,
So I'm with your wife on this one. I'm a Ozzy. I love
yeah,
Ozzy era Black Sabbath. And
I
I
like both.
full disclosure, I did not like Dio Black Sabbath. And I say I didn't like it. I didn't give it an opportunity until I don't know, probably the last, I'm gonna say 2 or 3, but it might have been like 5 or 6 years. Um,
Yeah, I've been
and
slowly like trying to wear Jess down. Like
yeah,
every now and then she'll be like, actually, this is a pretty good song. Like,
yeah, yeah, there's some really good songs there, and it's not Dio era Sabbath is not bad by any means, right?
no, it's
It
still Black Sabbath. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And the first few Ozzy records are incredible. So I'm glad that we got the Dio era Sabbath and the early Ozzy solo stuff, and then I'm glad that Ozzy came back. I mean, dude, the last Sabbath record, 13, is sick.
fuck yeah, it is.
It's super good. So I'm glad we got all those different eras. I've heard they're even talking about putting out some of the Tony Martin era Sabbath again, like re-releasing a lot of it. Which
Okay.
there's definitely some good stuff on there
Yeah.
too. But Dio era Sabbath, Black Sabbath with Ozzy and Dio, I both think are amazing bands, just slightly different. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
I absolutely agree, right? But
I
that's
do think that the big thing they lost with Ozzy for me was Ozzy's lyrics were so um wild but like relatable somehow. Like,
yeah,
he'd be talking about the craziest shit, but somehow you would still connect to it and relate to it. Whereas, with Dio, he's singing about a lot of high fantasy stuff, and some people just can't dig that or connect with it, and I can understand
yeah.
that. Me being like a fucking D&D nerd growing up, like I connected with it immediately.
Uh,
So
well, I was never a big D&D guy, but I always dig the fantasy stuff because it's
yeah,
that's what drives us, right? Some sort of fantasy or dream or whatever. And I don't know. I fucking love dragons. So I'm like dragons and knights and shit. Let's just fucking
right,
do
it's
it.
sick. I
Yeah.
do think it's cool that like through Dio and other bands, Manowar and shit like that, how like that became synonymous with metal as like fantasy swords and dragons and shit like
Yeah.
became a part of metal through guys like that. Um, and I grew up loving Dio. Like I said, I love Rainbow. They're a huge influence. Um, not to drag back, but like an influence I feel like I need to talk about is how much I think that Judas Priest is the greatest heavy metal band of all time.
Okay. Yeah.
I genuinely do think that. There are albums that I would list above a lot of Priest albums, but I think that overall, um, I really do genuinely think they're probably the greatest metal band ever. So,
The thing I really like about uh, the thing I love, not even like the thing I love about fucking Priest is, Halford was very, I'm gonna say flamboyant, but that's not the right phrase, right? Like dressing in the
no, he was just
leather and shit.
authentically him.
Yes. And everyone was like, yeah, it's fucking awesome. And then he comes out and they're like, what? It's like, who gives a shit?
Yeah, well, and I think it's funny. Yeah, Halford was like, "I'm just gonna be a leather daddy on stage," and everyone was like, "Yeah, that's totally just heavy metal. It's
Yeah.
just metal. He's metal." And he's like, "Hey, I'm gay," and everyone was like, I mean, I assume a lot of people were shocked. I don't know how
Right.
they were shocked. Well, I mean, when you look at it, like he was never hiding anything.
Right.
He just wasn't talking about it either. But I think that Rob Halford is an absolute treasure of a human being. I think that he is still one of the greatest performers on the stage. Priest is still killing it, still
Yeah.
to this day, crushing it. And I really like. I just can't say enough how much I think that they're the greatest heavy metal band ever. So
Yeah. Hell yeah. Well, I mean, that it's a good solid band. You've got a good solid list of fucking, heavy metal bands that really influenced you to get you to where we are today, like,
Yeah, man.
and I think again, looking at like the sum of the parts, l- listening to all of those bands really help propel you to have such a strong voice, great
I've
guitar
always
player.
appreciated singers, man.
Yeah.
I love death metal too. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'll turn on Cannibal Corpse, and I love Corpse Grinder's voice. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, um, and I love Morbid Angel and a lot of like I've been listening to like Internal Bleeding and other bands like that here lately. And
I just had Chris
um,
Pravelis on.
yeah, it's just phenomenal bands, man. I love death metal, but I've always appreciated singers.
Yeah.
So um, when it came time to kind of do this band, and I decided to take that leap, like I'm gonna do some vocals, and you know, it was a journey, man. Like I knew I'm not a screamer, I'm not a harsh vocals guy, so I knew that it was going to be some sort of singing, but I just had to find the voice. But yeah, man, I've always been a huge fan of good vocalists in bands. There's a lot of bands, man, like in the genre where like the riffs are sick and I'm really vibing on it, and then the vocals come in and they lose me.
Yeah.
And I hate it, man. Like I'll be listening to like a playlist online that got generated off of something, and like a riff will come on. I'm like, holy fuck, who is this? And then the singer will start. And I'm like, and we're done. Skip. Sorry. Like bad vocals will ruin a song for me 9 times out of 10. So
Yeah. Well, and it's so I'm the kind of guy that I can listen to it if I love the band on CD and I go to see them live and they're
mhm.
terrible live, I'm like I don't even want to listen to them on album anymore.
It can be a bummer, man. Like there's definitely some bands that I've seen over the years that couldn't quite pull off. I don't know if it's whether they were too ambitious in the studio or maybe just like they weren't a great band live and the studios just gave them the opportunity to doctor it up. But like, yeah, I've definitely seen some bands where it's like, damn, this record's sick. I can't wait to see them. And then you see them, it's like, well, at least the record's good.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, or vice versa, man. I've seen some bands that live that like blew me away. And then you listen to their record and it's like either they didn't have the budget or the know-how or the time to capture that. And
Yeah.
going back to earlier talking about where we record at Amish Electric Chair with Neil Turry, one of the things that we've been able to do since Seasons Volume 1 and also Volume 2, 3 and 4 are coming, we're actually working on them now, is for the first time, we're tracking these albums in a room together live as a band.
Oh, nice.
And that's something I've never been able to do before. My studio experiences were always you go in, you have scratch guitars, the drummer lays his tracks down, bass player, guitar players lay their tracks down, singer comes in, does his thing, and the sum of everything gets put together. So to be able to be in a room with my dudes, looking at each other, vibing off each other, playing these songs, I think, there are moments on those EPs, if you listen closely, where there are like microscopic little fuck ups that like we just kept because that was the take. That take had the feel, the vibe, the sound that we were looking for. It's like, well, I can live with that like 0.25 of a second where the guitar pulled out of tune or something like that, like and um I'm really proud of it. And I think that one of the things that made those records so far so special for us to make was that ability to track together in a room.
I think that, when bands have that ability and they do that, it sounds a lot different than when everyone does their own part separately.
I think there's something more organic about it, because you don't practice. I mean, I practice individually. I play my guitar without the dudes around, but like we practice as a band in a room together, you know,
Yeah.
and it's different when you've been rehearsing your ass off to go into the studio and you get in there and all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, I'm by myself now. It's not the same. It's
No.
not the same as like when you're in a room with your dudes and you're all, both or all four of you, working on the same thing at the same time. You feed off of each other.
Oh, fuck yeah, you do. It's like being on stage, you
Yeah,
know, you you're gonna have that, and it makes for a warmer, more welcoming sound. Like you said, it's a better vibe. It
right.
you guys are getting it together, and that's I feel like I like those albums more.
Yeah,
I like live albums for that reason.
yeah. Oh yeah, dude. A good recorded live album. Absolutely. If you've got a good live album that can capture, what a band does well,
Hmm.
um, like Opeth at Red Rocks,
Oh, I gotta listen to that.
dude. It's so good, so good. And bands that can have put out a good live record, I think you really hear the magic of that band being in their element more so than you would any studio album, I think. But you know, also I think certain bands haven't figured out in the studio too. So
Uh,
we're working on it, man. We're trying.
you guys are fucking crushing it, dude.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
The I'm hoping that when volume two comes out, there's a ton of fucking fanfare around it. I know I'm gonna be like pushing.
It's one of those things, man. Like you work really hard to put out a record, and you never know. You never know. We might put it out, and people might love it. People might not love it. It's a risk, but at the end of the day, we write the music for ourselves, and we just hope that people relate to it and love it. And even if people do love it, there's no guarantee that it gets a push from anything. We live in a weird time to be a musician, man, where like content online and socials and things like that have to be pushed beyond just writing good songs. It's not enough to be a good musician anymore. Like you have to be a content creator now. It's
Yeah.
required. So, and when you're 42 years old, figuring out TikTok. You know what I mean? It's different,
Yeah.
man. Like it's one of those things where it's adapt or die. And that's just how it is. It's not like it is anymore, or it's not like it was in the '90s when you could be a good band and that was enough.
Right.
If you were a great band with a good record, that was enough. It's not anymore. Now people want to be entertained at every avenue, and we're doing our best to try to bring people what they need. So
Well, it's
I,
not even
I'm
being,
hopeful.
I don't think it's being entertained at every avenue. All it is just a constant reminder, right? It's constant
Just
branding.
a constant poke in the face, like, hey man,
Yes.
we're here. Listen
Yeah.
to this. Yeah. Which, it feels a little disingenuous at times, but it's a part of being a musician now that you either embrace it or you fall by the wayside. So we're doing our best to try to keep up with it.
Hell yeah. Yeah. I think everyone is. I mean, that's, in my business too, it's you got to be in front of people all the time. Uh, so you learn. And here I am. I'm a little bit older than you, and I'm like, dude, I hate email. I don't want you to email me. I don't want to be all over Facebook and Instagram and
Right?
TikTok,
Right?
but it just kind of is what it is,
Like I said, man, it's adapt or die. You either figure it out or you get passed up.
for sure.
And I see some of these young bands coming out. There's a hardcore band from up in like the New Jersey, New York area called Gel. Do you know
Hmm,
Gel?
I do not.
I met them. They were on the High on Fire tour I did, and their content is killer at all times, and it's like they know exactly how to present themselves. And I feel like at their age, it's been a part of their life since they started. So it's not a learning curve so much as it is for dudes like me who came up playing music in the '90s when you still had 8x10 promo shots and an actual physical press kit when you would send to clubs.
Yeah.
So things are a little different, but I'm trying very hard, man. And the guys in my band, we're all trying to really put a push behind this in every way we can because I really do think that the songs are there. I'm really proud of the songwriting. I'm proud of what we have become as a band, and I do want people to hear it. I want to get out and get on more stages this year. See some time on the road this year. Not a lot, but just some, and you know, just continue to put out good songs and try to evolve as a band. But I really want people to hear it, so I'm going to do my best to fucking everybody poke until we can anymore. It's so easy to build, but it's so hard to build. Like if if you've got 1,000 people on your friends list and they all love your song and they all share it, you grow exponentially.
Yep.
But people are bombarded by music every other day constantly. So to get that 1,000 people on your friends list to share your song and buy your album and, buy your t-shirt, there's only so much time in the day and so many dollars in your wallet to spend. So it's hard for people to juggle which ones they want to. So I'm appreciative for every single person that gives us their time, gives us their money, gives us their attention, who talks to us, people like you who,
Yeah.
I meet at a show and, and we talk and, we continue to stay in touch. And then I see you at a show and you come to see us and I'm appreciative, super appreciative of everything everybody does to support us and show us their love.
I'll, I'm going to send you a little thing that someone sent me about like social media that you might find useful.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I love that.
Hell yeah. So the band, so when it started, what made it come about?
So, let's take it way back. So Ray, our drummer in Blessed Black, he was the drummer for my first legitimate band when I was 17 years old. Um, when I was 17, I was in high school, and a dude that I had met that year, he had just come to my school, mentioned that his older brother played drums, and I was like, we should start a band, and we did, and that's how I met Ray. I was 17, he was 21 at the time, already married, already had a house. So
Shit.
yeah, yeah. So like we went. That's where it became like my new home. I was at Race House every day, and we just jammed every day and played. And then life happens. We kind of lost touch as we got older, and went probably a good 10, 12, maybe longer years without really seeing or hearing from each other. And then I would run into him periodically. He was working at a music venue. He was working at Bogart's up here in Cincinnati,
Okay.
and I was playing in Workhurst, and we were doing our thing, and um our drummer in Workhurst could not make a tour that we had. And so I contacted Ray. I was like, hey man, can you fill in for this tour? And so Ray stepped up and did the tour with us. And through doing that tour and traveling together, it reminded me like how much I loved jamming with this dude and how much music chemistry we had, and how much, I loved hanging out with him as a friend, and how much we brought to each other's musical journey. And so at the end of the tour, I was like, hey man, I have an idea for a band that I've been working on in my head for like 10 years. And I have some riffs. I'm going to send them to you. Maybe we can jam on them. I hit up Chris and I was like, hey, dude, I got these riffs. Do you want to maybe try to start something? And that's how Blessed Black came to be.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Originally, Brad, our bass player, was my first choice to be our bass player. I reached out to him. He was too busy at the time. So our buddy Jens came in and actually contributed a lot. If you listen to our first record, Beyond the Crimson Throne, like Jens wrote a lot of riffs on it, man. Like he was a great songwriter and bass player. And then he came and was like, hey, I'm going to move. He ended up moving to Las Vegas.
Hmm.
So at that point, I reached back out to Brad and it was like an immediate, like, hell yes, I'm in.
Hell
Like,
yeah.
because he had seen us, he was a fan of what we were doing, and he had freed up some free time. So he was like, yeah, I'm in completely. And so, yeah, that's when I really feel like the lineup started to solidify. But yeah, a lot of it just came back to me wanting to jam with Ray, and I had been, touring and playing in a thrash band for years, but my everyday listening, is more 70s rock, doom, and psych rock and stuff like that. So I'd always wanted to do something along those lines and just hadn't been able to put it together until then.
Hell yeah.
So
Well, I'm glad you put it together because I fucking love it. I really
me
do,
too,
man.
buddy. I'm stoked on it. It's cool to be in a band you're really stoked about, man. Every time we leave the practice space, I'm like, God, that was fun. That was cool. So it's nice. It's really good. I appreciate it once again. I can't say enough
I,
how much I appreciate your
I
support.
I think it keeps the fire, it keeps the creativity. It's like, oh man, that was really fucking badass. What, what can we
Yeah.
do to make that better? Or what, where can we use that badass riff in, you know?
Fuck yeah.
And the live show was fucking fantastic too. And that's
I appreciate that, man. We were trying real hard. I had just come off being sick actually that week. So I had been trying. I'm a very loud speaker. I talk a lot. I never fucking shut up, honestly. But like, I had to really try to rein myself in to save my voice for that show, and I had just enough to get through it because right at the very end of the show, like we were like unloading gear, and my voice was toasted.
wow.
Held out just long enough.
Awesome. That's all we can ask for. Um, so let's talk about the plans for the year. What do you guys have going on?
Well, new EP. You heard that. So the way we've been doing these new EPs, there's 3 songs at a time. You're gonna get and they're based around the seasons. So you get seasons volume 1, volume 2. They're all based around the time of the year that I wrote the lyrics or we wrote the songs, and we're moving through them with the ultimate goal to be all 4 seasons pressed into one physical release together.
Hell yeah.
Um, so the 4 seasons EPs will just become the seasons anthology. You know, um, if enough people, out there can fall in line and show some support, we would love to do a vinyl if it's financially feasible for us. So we'd love to do like a double LP. But right now, for this year, just trying to write the 3rd and 4th volumes. So a lot of writing, a lot of woodshedding in the practice room. Um, and then, trying to play shows, man. We're trying to expand. We played plenty of times here in our local area. We're trying to get a little more out of town, start doing a lot more regional stuff.
Cool.
Maybe even a short tour, like 7, 10 days, something like that. Get out and just try to get on the road a little bit. Take it to the people. As many people show up, you know what I mean?
Hell yeah. Well, I mean, obviously you guys are playing Lexington in April, right? I'm sure.
Yeah, we're actually working on some stuff around that too that we'll be announcing here soon.
Cool. Right on.
Working on some stuff for summertime. And the hope is just to fill out the year enough to stay fairly busy all year. And the way we've been dropping these EPs is 1 song at a time. Honestly, like we treat them like singles, and it gives us the opportunity to kind of push each song out there to people. About a month at a time. Every 4 to 6 weeks, we'll drop a new song until all 3 on that EP are out, and that gives people time to listen to a song, digest it, and then when the new one comes out, they're right back in diving into that one. And then the 3rd one comes out, and then they got the EP they can sit and listen to, but they had time to actually dive into each song, and it gives us time to make content around each thing, and try to promote things as best we can.
Hell yeah. Well, hopefully this will give you a little bit of content too, I think.
Absolutely, man. I although we're both in horizontal right now. On TikTok, we probably should hold on. There we go. Okay.
Yeah. I can't turn my computer. It doesn't work that way.
Man, you could. I believe in you.
That's fair. It would look really fucking weird.
No, it's funny, man. Like for years, people would film with their phones straight up at concerts, and you'd see them on YouTube, and it'd be this little tiny
Yeah.
blurb. And so we're telling everybody, like, dude, film in landscape, film in landscape. And so, like, finally, people start doing it, and now TikTok's like, no,
Right.
film in portrait, and so it's like shit. Now I have to get everybody to start doing
I gotta
that.
retrain them. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny, man.
So are you teching on Headbangers Boat this year?
So no, I was supposed to do Headbangers Boat, this one that just happened.
Yeah.
And then I wasn't able. It's funny, man. I couldn't go because Workhorse had a tour pop up that got moved.
Oh,
So we had a tour, then it got moved onto the dates of Headbangers Boat. So I had to cancel my trip to Headbangers Boat, and then the tour got moved again. So I had already canceled my stuff for Headbangers Boat. It sucked.
Dude.
But I'm actually leaving on February 13th with Municipal Waste. My good friends, I'm going out with them for about a month, teching for them. Also trying to line up a little more tech stuff this year. I'm always looking for tech gigs. If you know, drums, guitars, bass, tour manager, any kind of tech crew gig, I'm always looking for bands. Something I love doing. I love touring, and I love working on guitars, and being a part of that lifestyle. But I'm trying to focus a lot as much as I can on just doing my own thing with Blessed Black this year too. So
Hell yeah. Well, I'm excited to see what comes with Blessed Black because I'll say it and I will say it with my last breath, right? Like I really enjoy the sound. I enjoy the live show. I think it's this fucking season's one. I couldn't get enough of that. I probably listened to that 1,000 times,
thanks, man.
and they're both really strong, really powerful. I think you've got a really, really great fucking product there.
Thanks, dude. The goal is to just keep getting better, right? I mean, the longer we're together as a band, the more chemistry we have, and the goal is just to write good songs and have fun with your dudes.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. That's a good way to look at it. Like I was gonna ask you something. Oh, let's talk live shows because you are a live musician also.
Yeah, yeah.
What has been your like favorite live show experience?
Overall, ever?
Sure.
Whew, man. Okay, I've seen probably 5,000 shows in my lifetime, man. Like I go to a lot of live shows. Um, let's go in the last couple years. How about that? That might be a little easier.
Yeah.
Um, Danzig, hands down. Glenn Danzig, this past year in 2023, he played Danzig one front to back, and it was incredible. He also played some cuts from two and three that everybody was stoked to hear. But I mean, to be at his age and still putting on a show with so much energy, and the band sounded so tight. And you know, I love every single song. I'm screaming the lyrics to every single song. But the show was unbelievable, just
Right on.
absolutely incredible. Um, Saw Mastodon this past year, always an unbelievable show. Just incredible light show. Gojira was with them,
Yeah.
also an incredible band. Mastodon absolutely crushed. Um, just the light show and the lasers and all their crazy bronze drum kit with all the wild ass raps and shit all over it, and everything about that band. It's cool because I saw Mastodon for the first time in like 2003 at Crazy Fest,
Oh, right on.
and so to see where they were then and how far they've gotten to and what they've become has been really cool. And I think they're just one of the greatest bands out there doing what they do. Just phenomenal. Um, I was lucky enough to get to tour last year with Municipal Waste, and we were opening for Carcass. So I
Oh,
watched Carcass play every single night, and that band is just so fucking good, man. Like every night after night, those dudes are just absolutely crushing it. And I'm a Carcass fan, but like I got to say, touring with them made me appreciate them in a way that I never had before, even.
right on.
So yeah, and plus, once again, they're just the nicest dudes. That tour was great. It was Municipal Waste and Carcass, Sacred Reich, and Creeping Death. Who,
Oh,
if you haven't heard Creeping Death, one of the
oh,
best young death metal bands coming up in the scene right now. Just absolutely insane riffs, and Reese's vocals are fucking bonkers. Just super fucking cool death metal.
yeah. I've probably seen them a handful, maybe a half a dozen
They've been
times.
touring their nuts off. So like
Yeah.
I'm sure you've caught them a few times. Definitely, if Creeping Death comes to your town, go see them. It's worth it.
Yeah, they're fucking great. Wow. Danzig.
That cattle decap show was actually really good too, man.
So
I was
that,
impressed by them. I've always listened to them a little bit, but they weren't on my radar nearly as much until Jess and I got together, and she listens to them all the time. And that the last two records, man, were like exceptionally good.
Yes.
like really really good. And so to see them play, and we caught them a couple times. We saw them with Amon Amarth as well. They came through. It was like it was them and Obituary
Oh yeah.
and Carcass. And with Amon Amarth, we caught them up here in Cincinnati, and that was also an incredible show. But yeah, man, Danzig destroys all. Absolute incredible, absolute unbelievable show.
I think the first time I saw Danzig, I saw him with Sepultura.
Oh, sick.
That was a cool fucking show. That was back in when Max and Igor were still with the band.
Yeah,
Uh
like
Biohazard.
Chaos AD era.
Yeah, it was probably 96, 97.
Yeah, so right before Chaos AD, like right around the time it was, or not before, but like right around the time it was
Yeah.
really, hitting.
Yeah, it was what a fucking both all the whole
That's
night was
prime era Sepultura right there.
dude,
That's
it was fucking
so.
killer. What was your first live show experience?
Oh man, that's hard to say. I saw Chubby Checker with my dad
Oh shit.
when I was like a lad, like just like a little kid, man. Like, he played at the Cavalcade of Customs car show when I was like probably 6, and my dad took us, and it was cool. Um, the first concert I can remember buying tickets for and going to, um, I was 15, and it was Rancid, or no, it was Motorhead, the Dropkick Murphys, and Hatebreed.
Oh fuck.
Yeah. Um, loud, still to this day, maybe the loudest show I've ever been to. It was at a club called Annie's here in Cincinnati, which is, not a big club at all, man. And like, yeah, crazy Bill. I had never heard of Hatebreed. Of course, everyone knows Motorhead.
Yeah.
And Dropkick Murphys, I knew who they were, their first album, but like, unbelievable show. Dudes getting fucking annihilated left and right in that place, and
Oh yeah.
I was just a young kid. I wasn't even technically old enough to be there, um, but I had some connections that were allowed me to get into the club.
Hell yeah.
um, and then later that year, I saw No Effects. I was like, I just got my license and just got a car. I was like 16. Started going to punk shows all the time. We used to go to a lot of like band challenges and a lot of local shows and stuff like that, and basement
Yeah.
shows, all kinds of stuff like that. But as far as bigger shows that I can remember paying for, stuff like that was, yeah. I
Those
think
are
Motorhead was the first one. Yeah,
that's a good first fucking show.
yeah. I was completely blown away. I did not wear earplugs, and my ears rang for like a week. It was bonkers.
You're like, I'm 42 and I still have tinnitus from that night.
Well, I do have tinnitus, and I'm sure it didn't help.
No. Yeah. Yeah. I saw Motorhead with Slayer and it was mind blowing.
Yeah,
It wasn't my first show, but
yeah. That's a pretty killer fucking show, though. What was
yeah.
your first show?
So the first show that I ever went to was Michael Jackson on the Thriller tour.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
Yeah, that
You have
was
no idea how jealous I am.
oh I
I would have
hear
loved to have seen Michael.
yeah,
Grew up absolutely worshiping the dude when I was younger. Michael and Prince, still to this day,
yeah.
just two of the biggest icons of music of all time. So
But that's what I attribute to my love for music. Like seeing that I was
that was high production live shows at its best, man. I mean, I'm sure
yeah,
it blew you away.
yeah, absolutely. And I was like 7 years old.
Yeah.
So like I know we left, we went home and I immediately turned on the TV and I was like, we had just got cable. So I was like VH1, MTV, who's gonna have
Oh
something
yeah.
good on there? And then my first metal show was Ozzy Osbourne, Faster Pussycat, and Ugly Kid Joe.
Ooh, that's a sick lineup too. Damn. All
Yeah.
right.
So, and then like
Oh
you,
yeah.
right? I've probably been to uh I would be 1,000+ live shows at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely over 1,000. I mean, and that's just like if you start counting like touring and teching, then it gets real crazy.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, um, it's been pretty fucking fun, man. Music rules.
Hell
Live
yeah, it
shows
does.
fucking rule.
Well, and it's the community too. It brings you together.
I mean, it's how I know you. It's the whole reason we're
Absolutely.
talking right now, man.
That's it. And that's with mental health, right? Like when we feel a sense of community, it helps us, it puts us in a better state, right? Like
Absolutely.
so I fucking love it. And I appreciate you taking time out of your night to come hang out with me and not hang out with your wife.
Yeah, yeah, she's in the other room. I'm gonna go hang out with her ASAP as soon as we're off here.
Cool.
Um, but yeah, man, mental health is actually I sent you volume 2. The first track on that goes a lot into that. So if you get a chance, dig into the lyrics a little bit. I'll send them over to you, and we can talk a little more later offline.
Hell yeah, dude. I'd be happy to. That's mental health, obviously, with my little brother connection and my
Yeah,
my nephew in 2016 took his life, and it's like
man, I'm so sorry.
so it's like I mean it I appreciate the thought, right? It is what
Yeah,
it is, and it really
yeah,
helps drive me to like be conscious of other people and what they're going through. I try not to be, like
absolutely.
knee-jerk reactions.
Dude,
Um,
thanks for so much for like taking the time out of your day and doing this not just with me but for everybody you've had on, and like putting forth the effort to help get music out there, especially smaller bands like us. We need all the help we can get, so these things are really important to us. I can't say thank you enough for taking the time to bring me on and let me ramble and be long-winded about music and cool shit. So
yeah, it's fun though. It's fun for me. I fucking love
yeah,
it. I could talk music all night long for fucking ever. My wife's like,
absolutely.
shut up already, get away. I'm like, which is funny because she's a hippie, and I'm gonna tell you a story. I love goat whore. I'm a big goat whore guy.
Sure.
So we went to it's 2019. We went to Brews and Brews in Michigan.
Hmm.
This little festival with the Convalescence, Battlecross, and Goat Whore were like the three
Gotcha.
headliners. My wife, big Grateful Dead, Dave Matthews, and I'm like, okay, whatever. So end of the night, Goat Whore takes the stage. I'm like, hey, we're going up there. So we go right on the fucking rail for Goat Whore. We leave. She goes, holy shit, they were so good. I'm like, yes, they
Yeah,
fucking were.
that's awesome.
So, all right, I'm gonna ask you final thoughts for the night.
Um, Final thoughts for the night. Uh, Man, m- music has allowed me to meet probably 90% of the people that are important to me in my life. And coming back to community and things that are important. um, if anybody sees this and you want to talk music, or if you like what we do, please reach out. Like, I love nothing more than when people take the time to tell me, hey, I dig this song that you wrote. Hey man, like I hear this influence in what you guys are doing. you know More than ever, musicians that you like are accessible, and I think that people shy away from reaching out to because it's like, if I send a message to fucking Metallica, it's not exactly the same thing. But when someone sends a message to Blessed Black, it means everything to us.
Yeah.
So I think more than ever, I just want to say like thank you to everyone who has contributed to what we do, who has bought merch, bought records, showed up to a live show, taken the time to send us a message, shared us with their friends, because that's the only way we grow. Reposted our stuff, commented on our stuff to feed the algorithm beast and everything, man. Like, it's all appreciated. And I just want to genuinely say thank you to every single person who's given us their time and made us a part of their day. And I hope they'll continue to do so.
Fuck yeah. That was really awesome. And from a fan, thanks for putting yourself out there and writing some killer fucking tunes. And you know, creating for the world to enjoy.
We're gonna do the best we can to keep doing it, man.
Well, sounds great to me. Murphy, have a great night. Tell your wife I said hi. Hope you guys enjoy some time together, and
Will do.
we'll catch up soon. All right.
See you in Lexington, man.
Yes, sir. Later, bro.
Later.